Hey everyone, welcome back to the Derick podcast. We're actually making up your last podcast and this podcast are only 2 days apart. So it seems like I was just here, but I was 2 days ago with McCrae. So today we've got a good friend of mine. His name is Brandon Larsen. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. He's a fellow business owner, local business owner in town. Started business from ground up, and you guys are exceeding any expectation you could have put on yourself.
Yeah.
That a good way to put it?
To say the least,
Yeah. And then it's you and your mom.
Yeah.
You and your mom run the business, and it's, tell us what it is.
We own a pet boarding, daycare, grooming facility. We do training as well. So we just do anything dog related pretty much. So anything you need for your dog, we got it. We got supplies, toys, all that kind of stuff as well. So any service for your dog, we got it.
And then do you do any other pets or just dogs?
Just dogs.
And it's Unleashed Dog Resort?
Pet Resort.
Unleashed Pet Resort.
Yeah,
okay.
Unleashed Pet Resort.
I mean, I go there all the time, but I don't look at the sign.
Yeah. We got a big new nice sign now, so you can't miss it now.
New building, River Road.
Yeah, we're just it's 3738 South River Road, right across from Sunrock. So
yeah, it's a cool building because it's brand new. You guys are the first people there.
Yeah, we're the first person in it, so it's pretty nice.
Well, give me a little background to yourself. I know you pretty well, but
yeah,
for everyone that doesn't know you,
born and raised in St. George, lived here my whole life, of course. I've always been around animals my whole life. Grew up doing, family's always done. We have horses, has done 4-H, raised hogs, and did a junior livestock show. So animals have kind of always just been the thing.
And that's big from your mom.
Yeah,
I mean, your
so
mom's instilled that.
My mom's always been super big into animals, horses, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of just how we were raised. Raised around, running around doing the 4-H shows with the sisters and all that kind of stuff. And then it's always been kind of a little bit easier thing for me. I had a lot of anxiety and stuff as a kid, so it was a little bit easier for me just to deal with animals and all that kind of stuff than it was people, because I just didn't. So animals were a whole lot easier for me to deal with than people. So that was just kind of something I've always done. And it was actually my first job when I was 14 was dealing with, it was a different facility, but it was, a different place here in town. And so I started working when I was 14 at a place and just started working there, kind of just doing basics. That was the youngest they would hire somebody. So I started working and doing that and just been working ever since. And,
you've had a job since I've known you.
Yeah. I was 14 when I started that place, and I've never not had a job other than when things kind of went a little hairy right before we opened up this facility we've got now. But yeah, I've been working since I was 14. So.
I'd consider that still a job because you guys were prepping a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot.
You and I were talking quite a bit right then before you guys opened.
Yeah, it was a lot to do to get done. I mean, when we get the entire thing done, we ended the last thing in May and opened in November, so it was a lot to get done in a short amount of time. But
and how long did you guys run the other?
So that was 6.5 years.
Yeah, so you built a huge clientele with that one.
Yeah.
And then moved into the one that you and your mom started.
Yeah. So that was, we were just, so I did, ran that, worked in that place when I was 14, bounced around a few different jobs, trying to figure out what I liked, what I didn't like.
Home Depot.
I did Home Depot. I was, started a part-time, temporary, just seasonal type person, and just, proved myself in 2 months, and they brought me on full time, and I just worked my way up into a manager position. Did that for 2 years and just hated it because it's just once you get in that, all about that. It's just once you get up there, it's just awful basically. So I realized that wasn't for me. At one point in time I was working there for my mom and at Foot Locker, just trying to get married
at Foot Locker.
Yeah, so I had 3 jobs at one point trying to, just get married, buy a house, do all that kind of stuff. And my wife was going to school, and so just trying to figure out what I wanted to do and all that, and realized that I didn't like working for anybody basically. So
that's what I tell people. I'm an awful employee.
Yeah. I like to work, but I didn't like the idea of, when my daughter was born and them telling me I couldn't take certain time off, or I couldn't do certain things. That's kind of what really drove the first facility that we were, my mom and I were managing. It was supposed to become, partnership kind of thing, and it kind of fell through. And so we did that for 6.5 years, and we decided we needed to just walk away. And it was super difficult, to build a business that was essentially yours but not yours, and just walk away after 6.5 years. And so we did that, decided to walk away, trying to figure out what we were going to do, as thinking about going and just working somewhere, but that didn't seem appealing at all.
It's hard to do.
But I have, 2 kids, a house, car, all that kind of stuff, and so I got to make money. So just went back to the old ways of the side hustle thing. You've helped me with many of them over the years of just making money, buying, flipping, there's so many ways to make money nowadays and that. So did that from, May to November while we were getting the business going. And now we've got essentially the same business, but it's ours, and it's a much nicer to be able to call the shots how we want it. And
I think the coolest thing from when you guys transitioned from the other one to the one you're in now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a Facebook page made to like support you guys. Yeah. And it almost forced you guys into starting another one.
So that's essentially like what my mom and I were like, hey, well, I guess we have to do this. So there was a Facebook page and a GoFundMe that got started, and our clientele that we built up, basically everybody just said,
over 6 years,
we don't like anybody else. We don't trust anybody else. We still will need a place, for grooming, daycare, when we go on vacation, leave our dogs, whatever. And it sounds weird to like people that don't have dogs or whatever. Like some people are just like, this is weird, but like for animal people, it's a big deal kind of thing. And so yeah, once all that happened, we're like, well, I guess my mom and I are both the same person a lot of the ways. And so, I'm like to work and a lot of business sense in a lot of ways, but we've never like full blown just started something like employee type business from the ground up. I've had little small things and worked for myself kind of type things. Sure. But starting a full blown, massive, well, not massive, but big business that was massive to me, and going from nothing to 10 employees and doing all this in a matter of months was pretty crazy.
Well, it's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Puts a lot of weight on you.
So it was a lot to do and a lot of stress, but it was something we pretty much had to do, felt like we needed to do, and it was a super good thing we did. And I'm glad we did it. It's all worked out awesome, but it was definitely stressful. And then we opened, we were supposed to open in August. Construction sucks in St. George, so of course that got pushed, and it got pushed, and it got pushed, and we had people who were supposed to drop off, for their boarding appointments in, August, September, October. We had to cancel that on them, which was, not fun.
Yeah.
So dealt with that, and then once we finally opened up in November, and, first holiday ended up being pretty all right for, just opening, all that kind of stuff. And then we're rolling into the next year, and then COVID hits.
Yep.
What was it, March or so? So we're only open for 5 months.
You guys are like, balls just getting rolling.
Yeah, we're just barely. So we just dumped everything we had into this, and COVID hits 5 months later, and you can't travel. So, and that's, majority of the business relies on people leaving town to leave their dog with us. So,
but you guys have people that come every day.
Yeah.
Right?
So we, cause people do daycare too. So people,
I think when people, well, at least me, like when you think daycare, you think like a weekend thing, but there's people that come 6-7 days a week.
Yeah. So, we have clients that come like just like a set twice a day. We have some clients that literally are there 7 days a week. It just depends. Just, they work a lot. They don't want to leave their dogs home. They let them come run around, play, get energy out. Like, sure, we do training with them. We do whatever. So we, it's better than just leaving them at home or in a kennel or whatever. So
yeah. Or they don't have a yard or a fenced yard or whatever.
Yeah, you got to worry about them like, jumping your fence while you're not home or something crazy like that. So,
or they can go play with 20 other dogs and have attention and
so they're getting monitored and getting attention. And then when you come home from work, they're not spazzing out and just it makes life a little bit easier sometimes. So that's kind of the purpose of the daycare side of things. And that and grooming at least was still going during COVID, but it was definitely a kind of a gut-wrenching feeling, like we just started this business and now the whole world just shut down.
Right,
like
and you have to stay home with your dog.
And like everybody's just locked in their house, and so now what? So we just started trying to get a little creative, tried to do some different little package things, tried to start pushing training a little bit more, because a lot of people got COVID puppies because everybody is stuck at home and they're bored and they're like, well, what should we do? And there's a surprising amount of number of people that actually bought COVID puppies, as we call them. That's what a lot of people are. So it, we just pushed through it, got through it. It was interesting at times. There was, those times we only had just a couple day boarding dogs, overnight kind of stuff. And the hardest part was the employee thing. You know, my mom and I could figure out things or whatever, but having employees being like, yeah, I can't really give you hours or whatever, that was pretty tough. So,
right.
But, you know, we all got through it. And once things finally started opening up again, it's just been awesome, and things have just taken off like no other, and it's been crazy. So,
well, going through COVID and owning businesses as well, and the majority of my friends are business owners, and the adjustments that everybody had to make, and like you guys were getting creative with the training and doing different things when they shut everything down in the economy. And I don't think we felt it as bad as a lot of other places did. So I'll say that first, but when they were coming out with the idea of shutting it all down, there were like my businesses are driven by fear, right? Yeah. Gun holsters, gun safes, all of that's driven by fear. And so we couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah,
and then
crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then I had other friends, including you, where I was like, geez, man, this might like really hurt if they can't figure out how to get creative and get through it.
Yeah, it was definitely a scary feeling there for a minute.
I bet.
Yeah, remember right after they started doing like, you know, it was those weekly like press conference things or whatever. And I remember my mom sitting there in the lobby and phone's not ringing and nobody's checking in. We're just sitting there like, crap. Like,
and you've got like what, a 3-year lease and
they have 5-year locked in. We're only 5 months into it.
Yeah.
And we just dumped every dime we have into starting the business. So it's not like we got a bunch of money to like float it, and then we didn't have, 2 years that we've built up to, kind of help float it or whatever. And it was interesting, but
so then everything opens up and you guys just go bananas.
Yeah. The second things kind of started getting back to normal, it went haywire, and all of the COVID puppies and all of the people that hadn't been able to go anywhere for, all their vacations, everything. And we went from being, fairly moderate to basically from May until present, we've been booked solid every weekend. Since.
So booked solids, how many dogs?
It can vary. It depends on if there's like 2 dogs per kennel, and there's a lot of variables in that, and it also depends on, because we only do a certain amount per staffing, and if I need to have somebody a weekend off, all that kind of stuff. But there's days that we'll,
Did you like a hotel You're
like
a hotel really or a hospital.
It's kind of like that. It is kind of like that. There's a lot more to it than people think. A lot of people just think, like you just play with puppies all day. Like,
their home treats.
To run it properly and to make everything safe and to build the name like what we have and all that. Like there's a lot more to it, and I think that's why we've built the name we have and all that, is because we do run it a lot more organized, and just there's way more to it than just playing with puppies, basically. So.
Well, and you are very particular about things, and so I could understand.
Yeah,
I've been in there multiple times. We got a puppy last Christmas. It's been through your training. It's come over for daycare.
Yeah,
and every time I go in, everything's clean. It's spotless. It doesn't stink.
Yeah, no, there's definitely. We do have a certain process that we do everything in, and it's done the exact same way every single day, every single week, every single everything. So and that's just what people have grown to like and know, and that's kind of why we are the way we are, I think, now. So
well, and you'll benefit from that from a decade from now of having those processes in on day one, versus trying to scramble when you've got 5 and 10 employees and trying to alter things,
change it around down the road and all that,
and coming from a 6-year experience into this, probably helped.
And that was what it's kind of a weird thing, because it was it sucked big time having to leave that, but it was also a super good learning experience being able to have all that, and because that was kind of the trial and error phase, basically. So we were able to get all that under our belt and essentially not have to have it be under like our costs, basically. So it was,
you learn on someone else's dime, I guess.
So it definitely had, its benefits in ways as well. So it was hard to do what we had to do, but it was also, it had its benefits for sure.
Well, I know that you and your mom get along really well, but what's it like working with your mom every day?
It's not bad. We definitely have disagreements, and we see differently on just things and all that. I think anybody you work with, I think it's like that. There's not just my mom. I've got my niece there as well, both my nieces there actually, and so family can butt heads somewhat, but overall we've, like I said, even back when I was 15, my mom had a grooming shop I worked for there. Like, we get along really well, and we see mostly eye to eye on everything, and we've gotten it to the point where we've worked so long with each other. Like,
yeah, that's true.
We've learned, like, one of us might get a little hot-headed or whatever. We can just kind of, we might pipe off with a little bit of something, get a little bit, kind of walk away, talk through it, figure it out, and just get over with it and figure it out and get it done. So it's really not too bad, though, because we've just worked with each other for so long, I think, that it's just kind of the normal. We're just so used to it this far in. So
right,
it's not that big of a deal at all anymore, really. So
that's cool.
It's kind of cool. So most people, I don't think, would like to do that, but it's
well, it's like I've been doing a little thing with my mom. Well, you actually got me started in some of the liquidation stuff. And my mom and I have been doing it. We've been together every day, and I've had a blast.
Yeah.
The only thing I get worried about is like I don't know how to stop, and I know you're the same way. Like, I just won't eat all day.
Yeah.
Like, I won't stop and drink. I won't eat. I won't do any of that, and I'm just go. I mean, like right now, I think I'm going on hour 14 for the day, and it's like sometimes I have to, look over and see my mom and be like, okay, maybe I need to slow down, or maybe I need to help her. And that's the only adjustments I've really had to make.
Yeah, you got to make sure you tone back for her and don't expect her to. Yeah, no, and that's why, because my mom's a lot, that's where I've learned a lot of my parents with the work and all that, they've always just worked super hard and all that. They've never been like go to college and just do that. They've always been like they've told me I can do whatever I want to do. If I wanted to go to college, I could. If I didn't want to, I didn't have to. I could just work, and they've always just kind of went the work route. And so that's kind of, I think, where I've gotten all that from, is they've both come from just like hard working. My mom was from farming. They had a big, huge farm. It was just like, you're throwing sacks of potatoes kind of type family.
It doesn't get harder than that.
No, and my dad, it's always very professional, but it was business, work hard type family and all that. And so I think that's where it all came from. And that's why my mom and I work so well together, though, too, is because we'll have ridiculously full, busy day, and we both just dive in and we can just get it all done. And she's kind of on the same level of just knock it out and get it done and just dive in no matter what. So,
like, I was listening to a podcast, and I think it was Jordan Peterson that said this. I really need to start writing stuff down, because I'm always trying to quote people and I mess their name up or who said it. But when they said it, I thought about you. It said, when you're working hard for something you don't want, it's called stress. When you're working hard for something you do want, it's called passion.
Yeah.
And so I was like, for you and what you guys do at the pet place, like you had even said it was stressful going through this, stressful going through that. But I think it's more of a passion thing for you.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. We deal with the employees all the time. There's so many people that apply and they're like, well, I think I want to work here and all that. And anymore, anybody that applies and they think they want to work there, we have them do like a shadow kind of thing, because there's so many people that want to come in and they think they're they're just gonna play on the floor with fluffy puppies kind of thing.
Right.
It's not all just rainbows and sunshine or whatever. It's stressful, and it's like I said, and we like things done certain ways to keep it safe, clean, all that. And dogs are loud, they're smelly sometimes. There's a lot more to it, and so there's got to be the passion to it, not just the Instagram glory type,
Sure.
I've got a cute puppy in my arms kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely got to be tons of passion to it and all that. So,
well, I've always looked up to you with how you are with your money and your finances and investing and just being smart. Like when you guys bought your first house, dude, I was so jealous, man. Like I was over there every day.
Yeah. You had a key, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I did have a key. That's right. And I remember thinking man, I'm working, I'm putting in the hours too, but I don't have a house. I'm not doing, I had other reasons. I was at home for other reasons, but I remember thinking I was so jealous of you having a house first. And so there's been multiple things in your track, even the pet stuff. We had talked before you guys started this one.
Yeah.
And when I heard about the Facebook group and the different support you guys were having, I was like, dude, I get it. It's a lot of upfront cost and it's a lot of capital up front. But this seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And that's why when COVID hit, dude, I was kind of crapping myself because I'm like, man, I'm the one that you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this.
It was crazy, but yeah, no, it's I think it's funny with all that too, because I know everybody always say that I've squeaked when I walk my whole life, because with my money I've always been so tight and everything. But
it's like you open your wallet and blow out the dust.
Yeah, something like that. But it's the way I've always been, and as you know, you treat yourself with something here and there kind of thing. But that's just the way I've always done it. And
yeah,
it's if you got to set your long-term goals. I think way too many people just look at the too close present kind of thing. But I was looking at buying a house when I was like 16.
Yeah.
And I just started setting goals when I was, 15, 16. And like I said, I started working when I was 14. I started just basically saving every dime I could and working from there. And then took what I could. I've never made that much money really until now.
Yeah.
But
I was working at the same age. I just never had that vision back then. I mean, maybe a year or two, probably a year before we really started running together a lot, I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to buy a house. But I mean, you were 4 or 5 years ahead of me at that point.
Yeah.
And so when you did it, I was like, man, I've always made a lot of money and I've always worked really hard. And I'm like, well, what do I got? Like at the time I had a cool Jeep, I was like, that's about it. And you had a couple cool cars. You had that Camaro you were restoring. You had other things you were doing. And there wasn't a lot of people I felt like that were that far because of the plan that they had put together in the beginning to be at that place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's like, since you put that plan together 3 years ahead of me, I've always felt like I've been chasing you since then. And it's like, do you know what I'm saying though?
No, definitely. And I think that's what a lot of people, like, especially younger people, that's even like with my nieces or anybody's younger, that's what they need to like focus on is everybody, like I said, they look at too much into too close to now, and they want to be rich now and they want to buy a house now and all that. And which is, great to have ambitions for now or whatever, but you have to, things aren't going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And you also, I've never, ever, ever, unless you have an amazing job, you're never going to make just enough money just working a 9-to-5 job. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you've done it tons with me. I would go work my job, and then I'm on Craigslist, I'm on KSL.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're going picking up motorcycles and welding them and selling them.
Doing random things, just, whatever I could do to make money. And it's not because I had to, but it was because that's the money that was getting shoved, under the mattress kind of thing.
Yeah.
To, buy the first house, or when we sold that and saved up again to buy the second house kind of thing, or whatever. And that's what you have to have, those ambitions if you truly want that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people have the idea in their head they want it, but they don't really want to push for it kind of thing. It's not easy, but it's not that hard either,
right,
in my opinion. I'm a prime example of it. I really, like I said, Home Depot was my highest paying job, and they didn't pay me that much.
Right.
But it's because I would get off work and then I would go do.
You hustled.
I would hustle, whatever. It didn't matter what. If I could find a mattress and go sell that mattress for $50 more, that's $50 made.
Right.
And that's just the way it was. And I did that for ever, basically.
I
still do it. Yeah. I don't have to do it now, and I've kind of mellowed out a little bit on it, but I still do it now. And that's how I go buy my toys now. It's how I, was able to buy like the Razor and like looking to buy a bike and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, when I started putting that plan together, I was probably 21, 22 really, about putting a long-term plan together. And I knew I wasn't going to school. I knew I wasn't going to do any of that. I knew I wanted to work for myself. Even today, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
I'm still just figuring it out every day. But I started putting this plan together of, I had a decent credit score at 21, 22. So I started putting, like when I got married, 22, I think, 24, I don't know, however old I was.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. When I got married, I started putting debt on me, and I would co-sign Amanda into stuff.
Yeah.
And my whole plan was, I'm going to carry the debt because with your income, with owning your own business, right? I'm like, okay, Amanda's the one that's going to be a W-2 employee and bringing in the money to be able to get a home loan one day. And I probably won't be there, but I can take on the smaller amounts of debt so she doesn't have that going against her debt to income.
Yeah, so it's not
right?
Debt to income on that.
And then one day when we get to the point of we're making enough money, we'll buy a house and put it in her name while I still carry the debt. And it was like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm only 20, whatever. And then now 32. we just built our dream house.
Yeah.
I carry all of our debt. The house is on
It's
her.
on her.
And it just kind of, it's kind of cool to look back and be like, well, I guess all this did work out.
It worked out, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see, and that's one thing that I didn't do that I wish we kind of would have done is, like you said, is splitting it up. And that's one thing that I don't think anybody's taught or talks about really too, is if you are married, splitting it like that actually is a really good way to go about it. The only sketchy thing is if, you know, relationships don't work out or whatever, and that, which is, you know, you don't want to think about that, but it happens. But if you can do it that way, it actually works out super nice in a lot of ways.
Well, I should ask Amanda, but I'm pretty sure she'd just give me the house because I basically drew up the whole house anyway.
I don't know about
I think
that.
she'd go live in a trailer, dude. She's pretty minimalist.
Yeah, she'd probably go live somewhere where she can just climb all day long. And
Yeah, well, right now, man, she's out in California or out in Colorado doing Via Ferretas out in Telluride.
That's all she ever wants to do. That's her dream place right there.
She sent me a Marco Polo or a Snap or whatever. I don't know why we have all these different talking apps, but
something crazy.
Yeah, she sent me this thing, and she's on this cliffside, and she's walking on this ridge that's the size of her shoe, you know, and there's just like these little clip-ins in a cable that she's clipped into the cable. But I mean, she's crazy. A couple thousand feet up in the air on this side of this cliffside.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, she's been out there, I think, one other time, maybe two other times. So she's kind of got the area figured out now, but yeah, I don't know. That ain't me.
No.
I'm like, this body ain't built to be hanging on the side of a cliff.
No,
tell you that.
It looks pretty. I'll look at it from the bottom, but I ain't going up there.
Well, send me a picture.
Yeah. Take lots of pictures.
I'll experience it the same way with a picture.
But no, that's definitely, I think, that was a pretty smart thing. I think you guys, I mean, it's worked out good for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it could have blew up in my face too. It just happened to work out.
But as life, you just take risks and hope it works out, basically.
It's like Mallory and I always talk when she got into this. She would try to get business advice from people, and they would say, you just got to start. She'd be like, well, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. This is my direction. You just got to start.
Yeah.
And until you do that, it's so hard to like pitch. Like, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you're like, dude, I'm trying to start, but you've done it twice. Can't you like give me some heads up, you know? And it's like, well, no, dude, once you start, one, because so many people talk about it and never do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm busy, you're busy. Do we want to sit down and take our time telling someone that's just got dreams and no action?
Yeah, definitely. Because you can waste a lot of time with a lot of people that just never do anything.
Exactly.
With it.
And then, so that's kind of what I explained a little bit of this, my thoughts on it, at least to her. And I think it was like a couple days later, she's like, so I'm building a podcast studio and we want you to be the podcast, like the headliner and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I'm down. Let's do it. Let's run.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, with your businesses, my business, anything, I mean, like you said, when we got like the Facebook thing and the GoFundMe and all that, it was kind of like when we realized like, okay, well, I guess this is happening. And we decided to start things. We, started with a name and you start from there. And it was just like all of a sudden everything just, I mean, within a matter of like 3 weeks, a good chunk of the main like business part of stuff was just done. It just, because once you start, it all just starts flowing and it just goes. And so like you said, you just got to start, and you're generally scared and you have no idea what you're doing. But you just use Google and YouTube and you just go for it. And
I mean, and tell me if you disagree, but I think you still have to be that kind of person. Yeah. Like, I don't think there's just anybody that can be like, I've got this idea, action, and it works out. I mean, I've had businesses that have failed. So, I mean, I guess that proves it right there. But I tell a lot of people, like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Into the back of my head, I'm like, I just don't think you're the person that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, please prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're that person.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I mean, even being in business, and you probably still deal with it now today, and I know with us, like, because, now we're looking at where we're at. Like, hey, now where are we going to go from here? So now we just got to start the next phase, basically. Yep. And so instead of like just pondering or trying to, we're just going to have to pick something and just start it and kind of thing. So now do we want to do this or this or this, whatever. And it's the same thing even within the business, is you have to start wherever you're going to go from there, kind of thing. And because you can't get too complacent and just kick back. I mean, I guess you can, but what fun is that, kind of thing?
Well, what is your guys' growth plan? Are you thinking different location, another location someday? I mean, what's the...
I mean, main plan is just we're trying, like I said, we're there for 5 years. seeing, things have been going good. So, of course, riding that out there. But ultimately, we'd like to try to build a building that's our ideal building, that's exactly just designed from the ground up. That's exact way we want everything. We've never had that, in everything we've ever had. It's been, we've had to settle for this or settle for that or kind of make this work or, like everything I've ever done. I'm always, there late at night as we're building everything, building some random thing to make it work or, whatever. So that's kind of the main goal is to try to just save up as much as we can to get to where we can build. Hopefully building costs come down somewhat because it's crazy right now.
I guess you're not going to do that this second.
I don't want to spend $90 on one 2x4 or something like that. So that's kind of the main game plan is to get to where we can build our ideal building that we really, really want.
That's where I'm at too with the safe store. I'm like, do I do another location in Hurricane Laverican? The Laverican is super cheap.
Yeah,
and so I've seen some places out there. I'm like, there's like warehouse space almost that I'm like, gosh, dude, I would love to get it. I mean, there's not two of me for one, so I'd have to train someone to go over there and run the other one. But I keep on thinking, like, is that the next step for the safe store? Because, I mean, like right now, we just took in 31 safes in the last 2 days, and I've got another 10 coming next week.
Yeah, you had tons of stuff.
And we're out of space.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just nowhere else to put anything. But then last week, before all these trucks showed up with all these safes, we had 4 safes for sale on the floor.
Looked like nothing.
Yeah, so we went from 4 to like, I think I counted 29 for sale on display today. And so
one extreme to the other.
Yeah, and that fluctuates like week to week almost because we're moving so much product.
What's going through.
Yeah, and it's like, can you support another location? Yeah. And I don't think I'm there yet, obviously, but that's what I keep thinking is like, do you just satellite, maybe get a warehouse in the middle of town somewhere and then just satellite little stores around and do like the AutoZone or the O'Reilly plan?
That's the other hard part, like saying, once you get in there, now you got all the other hurdles to go through once you get there. And, with what we've talked about, we think we'd kind of rather just go with a bigger, centralized ideal building kind of thing because we just don't want to have to deal with, worrying about what's going on over at the other place or something like that.
You're not controlling that.
We've got a lot of other factors with living animals and that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of what our game plan is.
Another thing I want to bring up is how many hours you put in, because you and I are the same way with how many hours we put in. And I don't think people understand what it takes well, let me put it this way. You could still have a successful business without putting the hours that we put in. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could grow it as rapidly as you and I have grown our businesses without those hours.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I've been fortunate enough to, as of lately now, been able to cut back, which has been super nice to be able to be with the family and the kids and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like the 9 to 5 mentality thing, it's just, if it needs to be done, you just do it. I mean, you're unloading safes at 9:30 or 10 o'clock last night.
We were there till like 10:30 last night trying to get all the safes in.
And so, especially if you're starting your own business, I mean, it like even with my stuff, I mean, my day off is when I do payroll kind of thing and that, because I can't get it done when I'm actually at work. So it's
when you say cutting back, you're probably still doing 10 hours a day.
Yeah. So we work 10-hour days.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like when you say cut back, you're still not an 8-hour employee at that point.
But I mean, like I said, that's not that bad, really. In my mind, I mean, that's only 2 hours more than a normal work day.
Yeah.
So, but I've been able to cut back to like 4 days. So you usually work 4 days now. So I get 3 days off and work 4 days. So that's been kind of nice.
Well, and it's where you have your mom and your nieces there. That's probably a little easier to let go.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been able to finally get some good help that's like management type help and all that, which has been super nice. People that are really trustworthy and all that kind of stuff. And but people that want to start their business, I mean, there's no, I'm going to work on it from this hour to this hour. Like, no, if you have a free second, you need to be working on it. Like, that's just the way it's got to be. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't go, I mean, as you know, I didn't go to high school really. I mean, between anxiety, wanting to work, all that kind of stuff, I just did packets because I just didn't want to go to high school. didn't have anything to do with smarts or anything like that. There was just many factors of, you know, the social side of things and the work side of things and all that. And I was doing my packets as quickly as possible so then I could go work. And I wasn't going hang out with friends. I didn't really even have friends at the time. It was working basically. So I was being with animals, taking care of the horses, doing all that stuff and working. And that's just the way it's always been. And that's, like I said, it's the way it should always be. Anytime you're trying to get money, hustle, do anything, it's if you have a free second, if you really want to get somewhere instead of going and hanging out and doing a bunch of stuff. I mean, you got to have some free time, but
do you?
Not really, to be honest with you.
You've done it for the last decade without doing that.
I mean, you don't really have to. I mean, you got to have.
I get my Duck Creek weekends in for sure.
A weekend here. I mean, I work every Saturday. You don't gotta, but you know, a couple hours on Warzone here and there will get you tied over. So,
well, I used to tell people, I'm like, when they would say, "Well, how many hours?" I mean, I'd go around. I used to brag about it. Now I realize now that you're kind of past that financially and mentally and a maturity, like it's not something I really talk about a whole lot. I guess I do on this quite a bit because it gets brought up, but my mentality was like, do you need to sleep 6 hours a night? Okay, then you have 18 hours to be working. Yeah. So you got 18 hours to make money. How much money do you make an hour? You know, and times this, times 18, times, and I'm like, well, that's how much money you should be making.
Exactly.
And you and I think we've always seen eye to eye with that because it's like, okay, I clocked out of my 9 to 5 at Checker or Home Depot. And now we're like, my example's always been when you bought that Enduro dirt bike.
The KLR or whatever it was. Yeah.
And it had like a crack in the oil pan or there was something in, you got it for cheap.
Yeah. I spent like, was it $400 or $500 on that thing?
Went and got the welding place to weld the thing on it for $50 or whatever it was.
Like $70 total into it, and we sold it for what, $2,500 or something like that. In a matter of a week and a half time.
Exactly.
I made $2,000 in a week
when we were basically kids.
I mean, I was 18, 19. So I made $2,000 in a week when I was 19. That's it. And all that was talking to somebody, because I overheard a lady I worked with at Home Depot saying, my husband hit a rock on his bike, and I was like, well, hey, I'll buy it from you. How much does he want? And made some phone calls, found a welder, and fixed it right, so it worked. Yep. And it was all over with. And that's what I've done. That's what I was saying, is like you were saying with the work thing, I've mellowed out a little bit now, having 2 kids and dad and
and I was going to classify that. That's with no kids.
This was, when we were young and all that. But when I was trying to buy the first house, so I worked at Home Depot and I worked morning shifts. So I'd get there between 5 and 6 a.m. Then I work there, and I usually get off sometime between, because I was just part-time temporary, like I said, when I first got hired on there. So I'd get off around like noon or 1, hurry and jet over, help my mom out for a few hours. Then I'd get off there, hurry and eat food as I'm driving to Foot Locker. I'd work at Foot Locker till 9, get off at Foot Locker, and then drive over and hang out with the girlfriend at the time, now wife, as I'm browsing KSL and Craigslist and all that kind of stuff. And then we'd hang out, and I'd, if I find something, we'd jet over and go buy it. And if we didn't, we'd just hang out until midnight, 1 in the morning, whatever, go to bed and just start it all over again.
Same thing the next day.
And that was life, basically. And then, pretty much you, Tyson, and random. That was pretty much it, and that was life for 4 years, 5 years.
Right.
And any dime you get, though, you don't go below it and buy some, new sneakers. I was wearing the same shirts I still do, but
luckily you still fit them.
Yeah.
See, the rest of us can't still fit those clothes.
That's the way. If you truly want that kind of stuff, that's just the way you got to do it. And that's the, like you said, that's the way with people that ask about starting a business or ask me, it's, if you truly want it, you got to start, you got to do this, and then you go from there. But that's really what you got to do, especially nowadays, with expensive as everything is.
Yep.
You're not gonna, like I said, you're not gonna get rich or get a bunch of stuff working just a regular 9 to 5 and going home, kicking your feet up and watching Netflix all night.
Exactly.
So it's just not gonna happen.
Well, and you being we're the same age.
32.
Yeah, but you're older than me, but you're not 33 yet.
Yeah, I'm not 33 yet.
So at 32, and everything that you guys do have, and the life that you and your wife have built, and like I said, you guys are in a nice house. You've got nice vehicles. You've got, and the things that are important to you guys have nice stuff. Yeah. And you're a business owner, and your wife is kind of the real deal over at Chase.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but you started that so young, and that vision was so young.
Yeah.
And so you having 2 kids, or any kids out there that are, that starting teenagers, I mean, even up to 18, really, like what are you trying to instill in your kids, or what would you tell kids like that to do?
So really, I mean, like even with my own kids right now, so my kids come to work with me every day right now. So both, I've got Adeline, which is almost 9. She'll be 9 in just a couple of weeks.
That's crazy.
And I know, it's nuts. And then Aiden just turned 4. So they both come to work with me every day. Adeline's been coming to work with me since I quit Home Depot and was starting work at the other place. So she was 9, 10 months old. She's come to work with me. She never went to babysitter since then. And Aiden's been with me since he was born, basically since my wife went back from maternity leave. So, but like right now, Adeline, she has like little jobs at the business. So she does. I mean, they're basic, just simple jobs, but she's got little jobs she got to do. And then if she does them, she gets paid. And so I think that too many people now don't have jobs at young ages. Like even when I was young, it was, I had certain jobs of, feeding the dogs or helping take care of the horses or whatever. It was, jobs around the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
But still jobs, chores, whatever you want to call them. I don't feel like any kids really have chores really anymore.
No.
It's like, it just doesn't happen. It's like the maid does it kind of thing is the mentality now. So,
well, I mean, I'm guilty. I've got a guy that mows my lawn, but Will's not old enough yet.
Yeah, see, but I'm sure he'll get to doing it once. Give him another year or two, he'll be doing it. So, but and on one thing, I mean, Aiden's still pretty young, so he doesn't, get any of that kind of stuff yet. But he still even is doing little odds and ends things and that. And he's even grabbing a broom and helping me just pushing big old push broom around or whatever, just trying to show him stuff and that. But Adeline, big time, I've been showing her, just trying to instill in her head already, like, how much things really are. Like, because when kids don't really know, the parents just go buy stuff. They have no idea.
Right.
Like,
The value
they just
of
get
it.
like a cool birthday present and they just think it's awesome. They have no idea how expensive that truly was or whatever. So, so say she works and I'll pay her, $15 for the day for whatever she did. And then I'll take her to the store and we'll start wandering around and she'll hold up something, huge, and it's like $50. And she's like, I want this. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have enough. You got to work another 4 or 5 days before you can even buy that. And then the look on her face is just like, what? And I'm like, yeah. So now and it's starting to show her kind of the concept of the dollar, basically. And that's helped a ton, I think, with raising a kid, because it's starting to show her a little bit of the value of the dollar a little bit, I think. And it's also helping her with, just getting a little bit of work ethic as a young kid. Because, if she wants to go to college and go that route, then that's, what she can do. We'll support her and help her through all that. And if she wants to just go to work and just do what I have done, then, if she wants to help take over the business, she can do that. If she doesn't, whatever. So, but no matter what route she goes, I want her to at least have good work ethic, from a young age, and get a job at a young age, and not just sit around and flip around on TikTok all day long and stuff. So
do you have like conscious thoughts about building this for the kids to take over one day?
It's really,
or at least having the opportunity to step into?
Really, the whole idea of the business ultimately really was in my head, is for the kids, essentially. Whether they take over or it's just so I can be with them or have like money for them to go to college if they choose to or whatever. In my head, that's kind of ultimately really what it's for.
That's your why.
Yeah. I can always make money somehow. So that's kind of in my head why I wanted to do something that's like that, that's sustaining, where I can, like I said, now I've cut back to where I only work 4 days now, and hope, long term that'll, slowly fade away if I wanted it to or whatever, to where we can just pay people to run it. We just pop in, make sure things are going.
Right. Is that the plan for you?
I don't know. Maybe, and
thing
then
is,
just
you're
start
gonna be
something
onto
else, and then, just keep going from there kind of. That's probably what might happen, and just start something else or whatever. But that's ultimately, in my head, that's all it's really about, is for the family and for the kids, really. In my head, none of this is for me. It's all for the wife, for the kids, for the family, all that. So
because I do have those thoughts often with Will where I'm like whether he wants to take it over or not, like I want it to be built big enough to where
it's
I could have an exit strategy and he could take it if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Or I mean, and you would probably be the same way at that point. Like when you're having your exit strategy, it's like, okay, let me sell this and then have some type of structure for that money to go to them for whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe you help them for a down payment on a house, something.
You can get at it's always some way there to help them in some way, shape, or form. So definitely, like I said, that's in my head, that's the main goal out of the business, really. I mean,
right.
It always helps me because I don't have to work for somebody, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But once you have kids and you get into that dad mode and all that, that's really all it's about in my head. So
yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about that until Will came.
Yeah.
And like I remember in high school, I wrote a paper on like leaving a legacy, and that's always been important to me of like having enough and a big group of people that like look back on me and be like, and have somewhat good things to say about me. Or if you want to draw the analogy of like your funeral is massive, so many people came by and so legacy's always been important to me, but I never put it into like a kid aspect until Will came.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to do that until you have a kid,
hard.
but I've always thought like, I want to treat everyone right. I want to be honest. The best thing to do is always the right thing. Like Troy said on our podcast. And it's like, I've always tried to treat people that way. And I don't know, I'm sure there's people that can jump on and say what they really think about me. If you really want to, knock yourself out. But I've been given a conscious effort since I was in high school to leave that legacy. Yeah. But at the same time, I've thought like, what is that legacy and what am I leaving it for?
Yeah.
And that's where, with every business I have, I could transfer it to Will as soon as he's old enough to take it over, And so
definitely.
Having all that built up, and what I want to touch on with you is taking your kids to work. Like I've always had that with the safe store. I've always thought, well, once he's old enough, he can be here and helping me every day.
Yeah.
And so right now he goes to daycare pretty much every day that my wife works. And I'm like, man, it's going to be cool when he can just roll with me to work and just go help out at work. He gets done with school and I'll go grab him from school, take him back, and he, is at work for the rest of the day.
Yeah, bring it back with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a super fun thing. It definitely adds stress at times. It's not all just glory.
Grab that broom and sweep.
It's they're kids. They're gonna throw fits. They're not gonna be happy. They're gonna be not loving it at all times. Even Adeline being older and more mature and everything, she's not happy being there all the time or whatever. But it's still memories you're creating, and it's still helping your kids through things, and it's still fun to just have all that time with them.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's not somebody else raising your kid kind of thing and all that, and it's not a, because a lot of, if your kid's in daycare from, newborn to, 12 or whatever, that's a lot of years gone or whatever. So now you're cutting into that with time with you.
Yeah.
Plus it's teaching them the business. So if they do want to take over, that's just, if they start working, like say Adeline's age, by the time she's 14, she'll just be able to run the place basically.
Gary V,
not legally, but she would know everything to the point where it wouldn't be a problem kind of. So it's definitely fun. Like I said, that was actually the reason quitting Home Depot. That's kind of what started all that, was when my wife was pregnant with Adeline, and I hadn't taken a single sick day, single personal day, single vacation day, nothing. All that started in January is when it all like repopulated or whatever, and she was due in September. So from January to September, I wasn't late, nothing from that entire time. And when she was due, that was going to use all that so I could, be home, help my wife, all that, be with my, first kid.
Right.
And it was approved when I, approached them. But then when it came time to actually doing it, they all of a sudden decided to change inventory and put inventory right around that time and everything. And at the time I became a manager and everything. So they started kind of losing their minds. and told me no, and I told them no because I'm like, oh, it's already approved. And so the manager told me, well, when my first kid was born, I only took a day and a half, so why do you need to take all this time? And I told him, well, I'm not you, and I need to. So, and that happened in September, and I quit the following January to go and start the first facility that we had for 6 years, because it's when you become a dad, it's like that's all that really matters at that point. So,
or should that's all that should matter.
And so yeah, it's definitely fun. And like I said, and she was in daycare for a little while and started coming to work with me though. And then Aiden, he's just always been there. He's just kind of my little homie. He's always with me, and he's just, I mean, you've seen, he's just everywhere I go. He's there.
Motors with you.
He just packs around everywhere with me. So it's definitely a fun thing. But yeah, you'll see, it's fun. But they throw fits still. They're kids.
Well, I've always looked up to you and your wife with your guys' marriage as well. I feel like you guys, you get along pretty well. She's a firecracker.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love Veronica. She's a firecracker. What's some advice that you would say just on marriage, just to keep, I mean, you guys have had a lot of stress in your life, in your married life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody does, but what's some advice that you would throw out there for just having a good marriage and happy marriage and have fun together? I feel like you guys, every time I'm with you guys, you're just having fun, laughing.
It's really just try to be yourself as much as you can. And people try to hide, like they don't want to say what's on their mind or whatever. And sometimes saying what's on your mind might hurt feelings, or it might ruffle some feathers a little bit. But if you don't say what's on your mind, it's going to stir in your head, or if they don't say what's on their mind, it's going to stir in their head or whatever. And we've pretty much always just said what's on our mind majority of the time, and it's worked out thus far. And
yeah. How long have you guys been together?
So we've been married 11 years, and been together 13.
Okay.
So
we're a couple of years behind you.
So it's been, a fair amount of time. We've been through a lot. We've been through several homes, kids, cars, dogs. I mean, businesses. She's got a business as well that she's doing, and I think that helps a lot too. Is she's got a lot of the same, side hustle type mentality as well. She's doing her thing. She works at the bank all day, and then she comes home, will eat dinner, lay down with kids, and then she's in the office making her stuff, mailing stuff out. And it's, we've both got that kind of mentality, so that helps a lot too, because you kind of understand it to where if she didn't understand it or I didn't understand it, that might throw a kink in things. So I think that's also helped out a ton.
Yeah, I would be curious to know the stats on how many businesses have been, ruin's not the right word, but like how many businesses have failed because of a spouse that doesn't understand.
Yeah, because one side or the other isn't.
And
yeah, because you've got, when we opened Unleashed, it was the same thing, and she was totally supportive. That was a super sketchy thing. Like, I've got a super stable job that I've had almost 7 years. I'm going to quit one day, and we have all these bills, but she just trusted me because she knew I'd just handle it.
Yeah.
And, she still had her job, luckily, which is a pretty good, safe job. And she helped us a ton throughout all of opening Unleashed and everything. But you've got to have both sides. I'm sure you've dealt with it with Amanda. She deals with a lot of your crap, I'm sure, with all
hey, I don't have a lot of crap.
I beg to differ, but
no, I'm extremely blessed with Amanda.
You got to have support from both sides, whether it's husband or wife or whatever. When she was trying to get her stuff going, and you try to help her get everything set up and everything as well. And you've got to, because if you don't, it's not going to work.
Well, shout her out. She's Ronnie. What is it? What's her little business?
So she's got a little business, a little side hustle business. She does wood designs by Ronnie. She does earrings, all that kind of stuff. She also does like laser engraving and cutting wood signs, all that kind of stuff.
And that's her Instagram handle, right?
Yeah,
it's just
so
that?
it's that's her Instagram handle, and she got like Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. It's Wood Designs by Ronnie.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Every time I see her post something, I'm like, good for her. Yeah, this is cool.
It's all done with laser machines, so it's all, like I said, laser engraving, cutting, all that kind of stuff, and it's all handmade stuff, products, and all that. It's anything from earrings, keychains, signs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then some custom stuff too. People come and ask for like certain things made with the machine, you can do that too. So if you got some random thing cooking up in your head, she can make it.
Well, she just got good ideas where, like the back to school stuff, I think she had pencils where she was engraving kids' names or whatever in them.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And so it's always, and that's what we're always feeding off each other, just trying to, like I said, that's what I think has helped us a ton too, because it's like with the pencil thing, the 3D printing thing, like we're always trying to help each other out and feeding off each other. And so that's, I think, why our relationship works so well. Because even, growing through all of the different phases of our marriage and all that, we've always had the same long-term goals of, let's not worry about, tomorrow. Let's worry about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Where are we going to be? Let's retire by the time this age so we can travel all over whenever we want and all that kind of stuff. So
that's the goal for you guys?
Yeah.
Traveling?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That ain't mine, man.
We haven't done a whole lot lately, so we want to get to the point where we can just...
You're stacking cash, dude.
I don't want to travel, like, just stop everything and travel, but I would like to just take, like, 6 months and just go wherever I feel like going for, like, 6 months solid, and then I'd probably have to get back to work. But
yeah,
I would take, like, a week off, and I'm twiddling my thumbs too much, but...
Exactly. See, we're a lot alike with that. So I'm going up to Salt Lake first thing in the morning. I'll be up there 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, I'm coming back the fourth day. And as I was at the store today, I was moving in all those safes. I rearranged the whole store, put safes together. I was mopping the floor. And then I started thinking I've got 2 holster orders for stores and probably 4 for customers that I need to get done. And I that's where my anxiety comes in, is like, gosh, do I really have time to leave for 4 days?
Yeah.
And the majority of the time I just blow up the trip. And I'm just like, I'm not going. I just can't go. I don't have time.
Yeah.
Or when I do go, when I get back, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Like, I got so much work now I have to catch up on. It's just not worth it. It just doesn't make sense. And I've been doing that for so many years. Like burned out is definitely not the word. I'm not sure if I'll ever be burned out because I get too bored not doing stuff, but like I can feel it.
Yeah. Just getting just kind of mentally just exhausted from the, no, I definitely totally get what you're saying there, because I'm the same way.
Yeah. I keep on just stacking stuff on top and on top and on top. And I do have the mental picture of like, when does this fall?
Yeah.
Like, when does this get too much?
Yeah.
And luckily I haven't hit it yet, but, like when I try to explain people, like people will be like, what do you do for a living? And I don't even want to tell people anymore. No. I'm like, there's too many things.
Too much. Yeah. Way too much.
And what I admire about you, and I'm not able to do it yet, is you guys are just blowing up the dog stuff. And instead of putting all that focus into one thing, I start something else.
Yeah.
And I start something else. And so far it's worked out, but I'm wondering, like, okay, when do I stop doing that and grow what's working, or just focus on the 4 businesses I already run every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and it might even, you never know. It's because you've definitely stacked a lot on your plate, and one day it might just hit, and all of that might work out for you. It might all just take off. So you have to kind of just wait and see. It might just work out actually good for you, and everything might blow up. Yeah, and you're just gonna be that much further ahead. So
I'm not gonna be like, Brandon, you guys hiring?
Yeah,
I want to play with the fluffy Instagram dogs.
No, we don't do that anymore. But no, it's one of those, like I said, you definitely, you don't want to stack too much.
Yeah.
You're just fizzle yourself out and you're just going to crash. But you also want to get to where you're just keeping busy and doing enough to where you're satisfying, what you want to do, and still keep pushing forward.
Well, I think what I did at a young age, and when we were running around a lot when we were kids, like, I didn't know what was going to work, and I still don't know what I want to do for a living, right?
Yeah.
And so I always thought, like, well, if I'm doing 3 different things at once, I'll see which one catches fire and I'll run with it. But like when I got in, I started like 2 or 3 little side hustles that had LLCs, and they just fell on their face, right? As I went to the next thing and the next thing and next thing. And then doing the post office contract routes, I was able to build holsters, and then I started into safes. and I started backing off of the routes and focusing more on safes and holsters. Well, now I've got holsters to where like the custom stuff takes time. The store stuff, a lot of it is on autopilot. I've got a lot of back stock ready to go. I've kind of just built up the inventory so I'm not behind all the time. And then the safes is like when we have the inventory, we're moving it pretty quick. And then this is something that happened just recently, so we can talk about this. So we've always had 20, 30 safes in the store all the time. And then a couple supply lines got slow. Then we couldn't get semis to move the safes to get them to us. And so then I'm down to 4 safes. And this was just last week. And well, my mom and I are doing this liquidation stuff. Well, as you know, there's like 2,000 liquidation auctions going off every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so then I'm like kind of panicking at the store. Like I don't have inventory. But I've got this little side hustle over here that's got more inventory than you could ever buy.
An unlimited amount, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then I like kind of start buying these auctions because I can't get. I mean, I've got between all the brands and what Jake and I have going, I bet we have 140, 150 safes on order.
You just can't get anything.
Yeah, we just can't get them. I mean, I've had stuff from Browning on order I've had a small order since December, but my big order since January, and I haven't seen any of it. And every time I call them, it's next month.
Just keep pushing it.
Yeah. And one guy told me that it's sitting out in the ocean floating in the...
Just sitting on a ship somewhere.
Well, like have you heard about this? So the ports, like the guys that unload the containers off the ships, they're like holding the ship's ransom.
Really?
And so they're like, hey, yeah, you need yours unloaded, $10,000 and I'll unload yours. Wow. And that's like really going on right now. That's
actually going on.
And so I was told by one of those guys that Browning, they do a line that's built in Provo, and then they have a line that's Chinese that they license and just put their stickers on, right? And so I have a few of those lower budget Chinese ones coming in that are Browning, and those like 5 Chinese ones are holding up my 25 order.
So they're
25 safe
tying
order.
Everything up.
Yeah, and so and I'm even like, I'll come up and get them. Like, you're 3 hours away from me. I'll just come get them.
Cruise up
and they won't do it until the order's complete.
That sucks.
And so, and the only thing they tell me is like, well, we're not willing to pay the ransom to get our ship unloaded. So it's just floating out there.
So just sitting there.
And I wonder how many, like, we should go find out where this bay is, where they're unloading these things, see how many ships are just floating out there.
I hadn't heard about that at all. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we've had a couple emails go out with a couple different businesses and a couple different suppliers and everything that we've heard that a couple times.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, dogs aren't on ships, so that ain't your world.
Stuff's hard to get, I know, that's for sure, but I had no idea about that.
Well, and I wonder if that's like the furniture, the appliances, like all of that. Maybe it's all the same thing.
Yeah, that's all, probably.
We definitely rely on China way too much for products.
Yeah,
that's
everything.
Obvious.
If it's not the whole thing, it's a part or something is imported from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and Browning just has those, I don't know, there might be 4 different models that we sell that come out of China. Everything else we have is a Utah brand. And so Champion has some that are assembled in Mexico and then brought back up here. And so we've had steady stream of everything until now we're having issues getting the semis. And so now to Mexico and back is getting slow.
It's getting bad.
And so that's why we got so low right there for a minute. But
now you're a little flooded.
Yeah. Well, now we've got liquidation auctions. We got 2 more pallets coming, but I've unloaded 3 semis in the last week and a half.
Crazy.
Because back to where we kind of started with this, like I was panicking that I couldn't get any safes.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew I could get this and make money on this stuff. And so I started buying it. Well, it took 2 weeks for all that to get here. And now all my semis are showing up as safes.
So I'll just hit at the same time.
Yeah. So the last couple of days, my mom and I have put in probably, I bet we've put in 45 hours in the last 3 days. And
that's nuts.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it. That's why I'm like, all right, I'm going to Salt Lake and I might just I might go stay at the Little America or whatever, one of those nicer hotels, and just sit in my bed all day.
Order some room service and just chill.
Give me a Mountain Dew and a string cheese, dude, and I'm set.
That's the way to do it.
Let's get some Friday Night Lights on the Netflix and go for it.
Sometimes you got to do something like that every once in a while.
See, and I never do, man. My wife is really good at getting out and having her time and doing things. And I'm just like, well, I'm just going to go to work tomorrow. Yeah. You know, and luckily she's got a job where she can, I mean, she has the PTO, she has all that from the hospital that she uses, and she should, you know, I mean, she's got a stressful job. Well. Yeah. But I don't know. And you're the same way. I know. That's why I was slightly surprised when you're like, yeah, travel's the goal. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to travel to like my grandparents' house and hang out on the farm.
Yeah, no, like I said, I want to travel, but I don't think I could just like where people just retire and just go like and just don't do anything. I don't think I could ever do that. Like I say, we've got places we want to go and do and all that, and I'd like to do that, but there's always going to be probably some kind of business or something going on.
What's your number one vacation?
So we've always wanted to go like Maldives or something like that and stay in, you know, like a little hut over the water or something like that has been probably one of the main ones that we've really wanted to do. So
Adam just got back from the Maldives like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
You have to talk to him about it. I know, he's a punk, dude. Yeah. No, well, he had a deal set up with one of his buddies at SkyWest. And so I think he took care of the plane tickets and like they split up the costs somehow. Yeah. And so it made sense if they both went.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the main ones we wanted to do. So,
dude, I think I'm Italy.
That's one of the other ones is Italy.
Let's go to Italy together.
Let's do it.
I'm serious.
You want to go? I want to go.
See, my problem is if Amanda and I go to Italy, I want to go see the Colosseum and eat some pizza. Yeah. And she's going to want to go climb the Alps.
Yeah, she's going to want to go do something crazy.
And so I need to go with somebody so she can go hit the Alps.
Me and Veronica we'll go do something, and then she can go hike some crazy stuff.
Go get some pasta.
We'll go stand at the bottom and take pictures of her. Yeah. That's what we can do.
Well, Amanda's been to Italy. She went to Portugal.
Yeah, she's been all kinds of crazy places.
Yeah, but they go climbing, which is great. I mean, that's what our family does, and that's what they enjoy. But it's like places they go, or I'd be like, yeah, I'd want to go see a couple of things. Yeah. And they're in the mountains, hanging off a cliffside.
Yeah, no, that's what we want to go do. Is more like what you're saying, just kind of go.
Have you been on a cruise? World.
I was on a cruise when I was like 17. I went on one, and that was it.
Didn't you enjoy it?
I was super seasick for like the first 3 days. Oh, really? But after I got used to it, it was super fun.
We did one, I don't know, right after I was married. My family went on one. Dude, and I think I could do a cruise. Yeah. Like, I don't know now because they're making you like
it's all
masks
crazy
and vaccinated,
now,
and if you can even go. And I don't know if I'm about that.
I thought it was fun just because you get on, you unpack, and then like you get to see like several places, but you don't really got to unpack and travel and do this and that. And like you just get to see, you know, however many locations, but you don't really have to move really. You just
the people
come back to the ship and then do your thing at the night, and then you wake up and you're there.
Yeah. The people that are not on video right now, it's easy to tell that Brandon's not a fat kid, because if he were a fat kid, you know that he would like the 3 desserts and the all-you-can-eat ice cream. I mean, that's what I was all about.
No, see, I actually I was a fat kid. And I actually went on a cruise. I was somewhat of a fat kid, and I came back, and my sisters were like, what happened? Because I came back, and I was kind of tan. I mean, it went away pretty quickly. And I had lost like 25 pounds from all the barfing I did for the first 3 days.
For the seasickness?
Because I couldn't eat, and I threw up so much because I was so seasick. So I actually came back slightly less fat kid.
Well, like me, Adam, and Jason, we called it our singles cruise because other than Jason and a couple of my cousins, we were all married, but none of the spouses went. Like, for whatever reason, all the spouses fell out of going.
Just all you guys.
And so it ended up being, like, me, Jason, and Adam all went. And, dude, every night we would go in and we'd get, like, 3, like, main courses and 2 desserts. I swear they were, like, rolling me sideways to my room because I ate so much.
That is the nice thing, because you just eat and drink whenever you want. Like, just any food, anything you want. It's pretty nice.
If you enjoy food, dude. And, I mean, I'm not saying this is, like, 5-star food by any means. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but... I mean, I don't know, dude. Cruises, I'm all about cruises.
It's good. So, yeah, I definitely would like to do a cruise again.
Well,
it's back to somewhat normal at least.
Yeah, hopefully it does, because that's one thing Amanda has agreed is, well, not agreed, but she would want to go on an Alaskan cruise.
Yeah,
and I'm like, let's do it.
I've heard those are way fun.
Yeah. Looks like we're going on a cruise and we're going to Italy.
Sounds good to me. We're going to have to make it quick so you can get back to work or something.
Yeah, we're going to have to do like a 2-day Alaskan cruise.
Just get there and get back real quick.
Just be on the water the entire time.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, seasickness is the worst.
It was horrible.
I did like deep sea fishing with my grandpa a couple years ago. So grandparents, Jason, me, and Amanda. And the first day on the boat, like, well, and you were on a cruise ship, so it would have been different for you. But like when you're out there in the swells, like you go down the swell and everything disappears.
Yeah.
Like all you can see is water unless you look up, there's sky. And then you come up on top of the swell and there's like 150 fishing boats, like fishing boats as far as you can see. And then you hit back down that swell, all water. And dude, it didn't take me but like 10 minutes, dude. And I'm puking over the side. And we were on like the motion sickness patches and everything.
They got like bracelets and patches and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Dude, I was over the edge of that. There was nothing left to throw up and I was on the edge just puking. And I think it's funny because I'm pretty sure I caught the most fish and I was puking like the entire time. Yeah. And the skipper was yelling at me. He kept on saying, dude, your pole's going, your pole's going. And I'm like over the edge just hurling.
I don't care right now. I'm trying to barf.
So we did a 3-day, and day 2, I mean, with Amanda, with her background, she went and got me something from the store, and we were good day 2 and day 3, dude. But that is awful. Yeah, seasickness is awful.
Yeah, that's it. Because I got hit hard because we left from Miami and there was like a bad storm or something like that, and it was like, because I've been on like jet ski boats and stuff, and that don't bother me at all, but when you get on like that cruise ship and it was like that really long, like super slow side to side, and it was just messing with me. And it was like night 1 all the way into like day 3. I was tore up, man. I couldn't even, like, the first place we stopped, I actually didn't even get off the ship. I just stayed in the room and just laid there all day, basically.
That sucks.
And so that was definitely not fun, but the whole rest of the cruise was super enjoyable. So
what about when you got off? Were you all like, what do they call them, sea legs?
Yeah, it's weird because you're like, because that first like 2 days was just back and forth rocking like that, and then it was pretty calm the rest of the time. But yeah, you feel super weird because you're on a boat just for 2 days solid, just rocking back and forth, and it's like it was just a steady, constant like back and forth, and it's
like your body just naturally like leans back and forth, and you just don't even realize it.
Yeah, and you go try seeing like a show or whatever, like people walking around, everybody's trying to like hold their drinks and like steady with it and stuff, and
you're like, that guy was on a cruise ship.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Well, I never even thought about having motion sickness until I had it.
Yeah,
like until I was on that boat, and I remember thinking like mind over matter. And I remember thinking, like, you're not sick, you're fine. Yeah. You're not sick, you're fine. And I think it made it worse because I was sitting there, like, focusing on it so much. And I'm like, just stare straight ahead, and
just made it way worse.
Way worse.
Because that was the first time I ever flown, too. And so I was super freaked out about the flight getting there. And I had focused on that. So once we get there, I'm all excited. I'm like, cool, made the flight, getting on the ship, super excited. I had no idea that was going to even happen. I didn't even think about it at all.
Did you go with your parents? Or
it was me and my mom and my dad. And I, like I said, I was totally petrified of the plane ride. I had super bad anxiety about it. I was freaking out. I mean, I was white-knuckled on the airplane the entire ride.
Yeah.
We get there. I'm good to go.
You're like, this ain't that bad?
Not that bad. Cool, we're here. We went on 7 days. I got a week out here. Super sick first 3 days. So it sucked. But hey, I lost weight, came back not as fat, so
you came back noticeably skinnier.
It's a bonus.
And then it's just continued to fall off of you all the way to 32.
Just went with it and slowly kept going. So,
well, I think that's it, dude. I think we're about an hour.
All right.
I think it's good to wrap it up. You got anything else you want to talk about?
This is your podcast, man.
I think we're good. I just didn't know if you want to touch on anything. We went through your business, went through family.
No, I think that's
a little bit of like how it would start and like a life plan, little investing.
Yeah, I think that's good for me.
All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Derick Lake Podcast. Thanks, Brandon, for coming and spending an hour with. Well, we'll probably be here a couple hours from when you showed up to when you leave from all the BSing. But
probably.
Please like, share, subscribe, rate, 5-star, comment, all of that fun stuff. Like I always say, we're growing pretty rapid. Every guest we have on, we're gaining a whole new, viewership base. So it's been fun. I enjoy doing it. Thanks to Blue Form. Thanks, Mallory, for helping us out and producing the whole thing. And we'll see you guys next week.